Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are happy to see you all here this afternoon. I'm Jennifer Grant, the CEO of the Early Learning Coalition of Seminole, and we are recording today. So just a couple of housekeeping things. We are recording, so we try to keep everybody on mute. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. But also just to start out, so we have a record of who's attending, please put your name and the center or organization you're with in the chat box so that we have a record of everyone that's attending today. So we'll get that started. And I just wanted to start out by saying thank you for carving out some time for us. We are recording this, so if you miss anything or if we're not able to get to all of your questions, we'll definitely try and follow up with folks later on. And we will send out any attachments that we have, as well as the recording itself within a couple of days after the meeting today. So hopefully you'll have the opportunity to see some of this information a second time if you need a refresher. I just wanted to start out by saying thank you. I know that this has been an extremely challenging year between coming out of COVID, teacher and staff shortages, our hurricane, and all of the added requirements and expectations of VPK this year. I know that it's been completely overwhelming for all of you. So we really, really appreciate you hanging in there with us. In case you don't hear it from the children and parents that you serve, you're really, really important in helping the children in our community get ready for kindergarten. And we appreciate everything that you're doing. We know that this has been a challenging year. So I will start out by saying all of that and to really mean it, because we're going to talk about all of these things that are going on and it's going to feel overwhelming again. So I want to just open with a thank you to all of you for joining us and for hanging in there with the VPK program. Our community and our children appreciate it, as well as our team. Lori will jump onto the screen. We do have a PowerPoint today. So why don't we just jump right to our reminders, Lori? And this is all VPK oriented today, just so that you know, we're trying not to cover school readiness related issues and just really getting to the VPK side of things.
Do I have the right view or is it the wrong view?
I think this is the performance, the speaker's view is what we're saying.
All right.
There we go. You got it.
Thank you.
And we can go ahead and jump ahead, Lori. All right, here are our reminders. Some things to just bring to the forefront, because VPK has been kind of weird the last couple of years and there are some changes. When we start out, go ahead, Lori, can you hit it? Because I'm not seeing the bullets. There we go. Confidentiality. A lot of folks, when you're seeking support for inclusion, when you have a child file issue in the provider portal, when there's something going on, we're getting emails, and email communication is great. It's a good way to reach out to us, but please don't send child's dates of birth, their full first and last name, any personally identifiable information. Usually what we say is use the first 3 letters of the first name and the first 3 letters of the last name, and that will give us sufficient information to look the child up and get the details. But our email is not protected. So when you email us, and everything that we do is open to public record requests. So someone could request that, it could get hacked. We want to protect children and families' information. So just a reminder on that side of things. When you're updating VPK applications, all changes have to be updated within 2 weeks of the change per your VPK contract. So the contract says, and we know there's been turnover, we know there's changes, but you have 2 weeks. And in addition to that, we'd like it to be even sooner if your assessment window is open, because if your assessment window is open, we need to know immediately, because that can be a challenge for us, because we may have to change if you lose a VPK lead teacher, for example, and that's going to change, or you've hired someone new, and that's going to change the assessment time frame. We need to know that. Child enrollment, staff changes, calendar changes. Just a reminder that you're not supposed to change your calendar per rule and law more than twice a year. We understand with a hurricane, you did not have to change your calendar based on this hurricane because the community in general was only closed for 3 days. But if you chose to, or if there's some other reason that you need to change your calendar, we don't want to have constant changes on the calendar, because what that impacts is your assessment periods for the child assessment. And so it can really kind of mess up your plans for the year. So that's a reminder. Also, thanks, Lori, when updating director instructor changes, don't remove the previous staff. We have to have a record of who was in there previously. So don't remove anybody or supporting documents, because if they were in there ever at all, we have to be able to monitor that, and the state has to be able to monitor it as well. So if you remove documents, we have no historical record that they were there. Okay. And also when uploading documents to the share file, don't create folders. We have folders in there, but what's happening is you're trying to organize those files, and we need you to just put it all in there and give us the opportunity to organize them. Because if you change the folders or you reorganize things, it messes up our system on our side, what we can see, what we get notified of. So please don't add in the coalition share file, don't add any folders or reorganize those files. Just makes things run smoother for all of us. All right, more reminders. Supplemental services that require a parent fee are prohibited during VPK hours. So again, the last couple of years when folks were doing stuff at home, we had very small programs, we had COVID impact. Some of these standard things that we've had for a very long time in place, and it's part of the rule and contract related to VPK. If we've had staff turnover, perhaps we've forgotten. So we want to make sure that we're reminding you of these things. So if you have a dance class or a gymnastics class, soccer, specialty, field trips, things that are not direct instructional hours that you have to charge, that you charge parents for, those can happen outside of VPK hours, but they cannot be required during VPK hours. So everything that you're doing in your VPK classroom is considered, while you're charging VPK, is considered learning activity. So they have to follow your curriculum, have the appropriate lead instructor, and you can't be charged a fee for that. Providers on probation with an improvement plan that targeted developmentally appropriate curriculum, they're required to use a curriculum listed in your improvement plan. I know that some of you have been on an improvement plan for many, many years because we didn't have readiness rates for many years. And I know it can be challenging, but if that improvement plan is still in place because your scores haven't gotten high enough to come off of the improvement plan, you must continue to follow that. You can't change everything because that's a contractual obligation, and that improvement plan allows you to keep offering VPK. All right, our emergent literacy requirements. Before I go any further, just if you have questions, put them in the chat box, and Lori and team, if I miss anything, please let me know. I'm trying to keep an eye on that as well as present here. So as of October 15th, this is a deadline that has moved several times, but October 15th was our final deadline for all the lead VPK instructors to have completed the emergent literacy requirement. Please make sure that that is on the DCF transcript for your team members, because that's the mode that we look at to validate that they've taken those classes. If you have a lead instructor in a VPK class that does not have this, we need to have a conversation. Please talk with your specialist, because we need to talk about how we make up those hours, because those are no longer VPK hours, countable hours after October 15th if the lead instructor doesn't have the required emergent literacy courses. Okay. The next piece is transcripts should be uploaded to the lead teacher's supporting documents showing complete, and that's in the provider portal, showing the completion of the requirements. Any lead instructor who hasn't completed them is a cause for a program to be considered non-compliant. And substitute hours will need to be tracked until the lead instructor has completed the 15 hours of emergent literacy. So essentially, you've got a sub in place until they are approved as a lead instructor with those literacy courses. Okay. And that was a law change that happened a year and a half ago that's just been put into effect. So some resources for you. We have some additional resources. Apologize, I'm having to move my screen around a little bit. We have the Division of Early Learning resource link. And again, we'll send this out to you so that you'll have the link and you can get to it quickly. But these are some resources available for VPK. This is the developmental standards for 4-year-old to kindergarten. So this is our VPK standards, essentially. Although 4-year-olds are 4-year-olds. These are the developmental standards for 4-year-olds in the state of Florida. But there's also student center activities on that website. There's information about transition to kindergarten, how you can assist your children and families with that transition, best practices for use of technology and interactive media, some information about technology in ECE classrooms. We'll talk about that a little bit more, and a preschool book list. So there's a lot of information available on that website. Okay. Any questions or concerns? I'm going to take a look at the chat. Okay. Hopefully nothing's a surprise there for anybody, just reminders. So let's talk about our progress monitoring and our FAST, our Florida Assessment of Student Thinking using STAR Early Literacy. No, that's a lot. Instead of assessment periods now, we have progress monitoring. So we call it PM1. That is within the first 30 instructional days of your VPK calendar. So I hope everyone has already completed their first progress monitoring, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Progress monitoring 2 is scheduled somewhere between 40% and 60% of the instructional hours. So mid-year is when progress monitoring 2 will take place. And our team is actually going to send out emails to each of you, because that progress monitoring 2 date and deadline will be based on your specific calendar. If you're a 3-day-a-week program, it's going to be different than somebody who's a 5-day-a-week program. And that's going to vary. So our VPK team members are actually going to send you a personalized email, but we wanted you to look at your calendar and start preparing for this so that it doesn't get away from us. Progress monitoring 3 is in the last 30 instructional days of the class. So within 30 days of the end of your program. I'll just give another reminder here, because in the past we've had some of these things catch us. These are contractual obligations. I've had folks say, we can't do that because we have our graduation going on. Graduation is not a contract requirement. Progress monitoring is. That has to be the priority in your programs to get those assessments done so that you can get a readiness rate. This will be part of your readiness rate. If you have changes to your VPK calendar, as I mentioned earlier, that might change your progress monitoring window. So if you had to add a few days on, or you shifted something, that may change. So it's something to be aware of. If your calendar changes, your progress monitoring 2 and 3 periods may change as far as the dates. Okay. All right. Administration training requirements. There is training through Renaissance U available for teachers, administrators. Someone who administers it has to have completed the training. So in order to access Renaissance U, you have to be employed by a private or public VPK program, and you have to complete the training. Only trained teachers or administrators can administer the FAST using STAR literacy. Okay. And a corrective action plan requiring training before progress monitoring 2 will occur if we monitor or you identify that untrained individuals administered the progress monitoring 1. Information on trainings is available in resource section of the FAST website. So more electronic resources for you that are available, and we'll send out that link as well. For administering the FAST, we want to use a touchscreen device for administering the assessments. That is so that we level the playing field for children. A touchscreen device is a lot more intuitive. And when children have to use a mouse or a keyboard or something along those lines to take the assessment, it can skew results. And so they've asked for everyone to use a touchscreen device. Make sure that the sound is working on all devices prior to administration. Go ahead. I'm probably thinking ahead, so I'll wait. There it is. If administering in small groups of 2 to 5, you can use headphones. That was going to be my next comment. Making sure that you have headphones so that children don't get distracted by each other's, the sound on each other's devices. Providers are required to attempt to administer the assessment to all VPK children. No child should be marked as not tested. If you've tried 3 times and for whatever reason you are not able to complete the assessment for the children, then you can mark them as non-participation. But you have to have some kind of a record of your 3 failed attempts in order to document that, because we have to show that that occurred. In those cases, I would hope that you would be reaching out to us for some inclusion conversation, some discussion. If we've got children, because this is a developmentally appropriate assessment, if you've got children after 3 attempts, they're unable to complete it, we hope to have additional interventions for that child. If the administration is not on the VPK site, this was another issue. Some folks were on a test site before, some folks purchased. We heard some schools that have a kindergarten as well, they use the wrong URL site. You have to do it again on the VPK site, the URL, the VPK website specifically identified by Division of Early Learning for Seminole County providers. There are actually 4 VPK appropriate sites. So if you had a center in Miami and a center in Seminole County, there are 2 different URL sites even for your centers, because the state's divided up into 4 sectors, so to speak, with 4 different URLs. So we want to make sure that you're aware of that. The schedule, resources, reports, definitions of the scores so that you can interpret that information, the family guide, family letter, and also frequently asked questions are all on the VPK FAST website. So we've got the link in here, and we'll send that out as well to you. Florida's assessment of student thinking. There are lots of resources available for you. Okay. All right, our classroom rosters. The provider portal classroom roster has to be up to date at all times. So if you have a child that is approved, once you accept that child into your VPK class, the child will appear on the Renaissance site to be able to assess within 48 hours. The data does not follow the student. So if a student was in a prior center for the first 30 days of VPK, they were assessed, and then they transferred to your center for whatever reason. The data does not follow the student. You can't have access to that data. So if a child comes into your center, you want to assess them as soon as possible so that you have some baseline data. You want to get credit for the growth that that child has within your center. So assess the student right away when you get a new student, if it's after your progress monitoring 1 period. If you're a week before progress monitoring 2, you can start with progress monitoring 2, but we want you to get as much credit for the growth that children have in your center. And so when a new student transfers in, the sooner that you can get that child comfortable and get them assessed, the more opportunity you have to show that growth. Once a child is terminated, you'll no longer have access to the children's information. So there is a parent letter component that we'll talk about. You have to make sure before you terminate the child that you've met all of those requirements. So the parent reports, Florida statute, they must provide parents a parent report within 7 days of completing their child's assessment. So if you're staggering your children and you do 2 this day and you do 2 the next day, and it's over a couple of week period, which might be possible, make sure that the children who are assessed on day 1, within 7 days, you have to have that report available to the parents. Obviously, it's a key component to keeping parents engaged in their child's learning and understanding what you're working on, supporting their child's progress. In order to print these reports, the first thing you need to do is check the box that says show signature line. We have to have proof that the parents were given that report. So what we recommend is that you check the box of signature line, print it twice, have the parent sign one that you keep and give the other one to the parent that they can take with them.
Jennifer, I want to interrupt. We have
Sure.
a couple questions in here. One is, does that testing of the new child have to be done with a certain period? Which is the question is, no, you don't have 30 days, but it's recommended you do it immediately as soon as you get that child. What if for PM1, we did not keep a copy of the parent report? They were not given out, but it was not said before now that we had to keep a copy.
So here's what I would recommend. I'd recommend if you so they were given out, ask the parents to sign now, or if you have some kind of a record, write a memo to file. You can still go in, I believe, and print those out now.
Yes.
So you
Yes,
can
as long
print
as
them out for your files and ask the parent, you know, I forgot to get you to sign this when we did it. Make a note that you forgot to have them sign it. Remember, they should sign it and actually date it, because the date shows that it meets that 7 days. And we'll talk a little bit, if you haven't done some of this stuff, we're going to talk about fixes, but thank you for the question. Document to the best of your ability right now, and we're going to move on with our lives. But now you know. Thanks for the question, Jamie. Oops, I think I missed the last one. Did I miss the last one on that last slide? Oh, yeah, that we're monitoring for compliance. Okay, no surprises there. Thanks, Lori. Okay, on the FAST website, there's a report to show you step-by-step how to run those reports. It's my understanding that they covered it a little bit in the training, but maybe not as thoroughly. So I think this resource is great for us and for you all to kind of look at how to run those reports. But the big issue is that you have to check a box to get the parent signature line on it. We already know that that's an issue. If you try and download it and print it without checking that box, there's no place for the parent to sign. So, but those step-by-step instructions are something I'm sure for a while we're going to all be looking at those instructions every time we do it, because it's going to be, you know, 8 to 10 weeks before we look at it again. And I don't know about you, but I will forget and have to refresh by looking at those step-by-step instructions. They can show data at both the student and the class level. So your teachers can use this to inform their instruction, can look at maybe you need to break out in some different types of small groups based on, maybe you have some kids that are really catching on to concepts quickly and moving forward, and some that need some more reinforcement. So it can help you organize your class structure and inform your instruction as you move forward throughout the year. So this is not just to meet the contractual obligation, although that is required. We also hope that this is a tool that will be valuable for you and for the discussion with families on how you're helping children move forward in their learning opportunities. The lessons plans should reflect individualized and group instruction and be aligned with the Florida performance standards to increase those learning gains. So again, this is kind of old stuff. We know that, but it's just a refresher and a reminder that this new tool is available to help the lead teachers get your instruction aligned with the standards and with the data that you have on how the children are doing. So here's my favorite slide. Lori worked really hard on this one, and we've all been talking about this, and I know every single one of you is thinking, but what if I messed up? So please, please recognize that this year is a learning year. Yes, we have to use the term corrective action plan. We have to document things, but our intention is to getting this off the ground. Some of you are a little bit ahead of the game because you participated in the pilot project for this. So you're a little more confident with the tool and moving forward. But this is a learning year. So please note that that's our intention. It will help determine the appropriate learning gains, all of this data. And they're only one piece of the performance metric. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. This performance metric, or what used to be our readiness rates, is now a performance metric. Our staff will provide technical assistance this year for any non-compliance issues related to FAST. It's in the rule, even the state has said, we're all learning through this process. So anybody that says, oh, I didn't do that, or I haven't done it, do your best to document what you did or to fix anything that you haven't done. And we're going to move forward. Again, we may document it on a compliance monitor, but everything's going to say technical assistance provided. We just want to make sure that we document it so that we're all well aware of what needs to happen next year when we don't have a lot of waivers for contractual obligations. Okay. Next year, non-compliance with pre and post assessments will result in a corrective action plan. Lori was using my terminology here. One of the things that we talk about here in our office, whoops, backwards, is that this is kind of a team sport. If only one person at your center knows how to find documents, knows the VPK rules, knows how to pull a report for the FAST, if anything, the last few years have told us that nothing is permanent in our world, and somebody who is very, very competent and your leader within your organization with this stuff could be gone tomorrow. And if that happens, we don't want your center to be struggling. So we highly recommend that as a director, maybe you have your lead teacher or an assistant director or another lead person. If this is the lead teacher handling this, maybe the assistant needs to be trained as well. But have more than one person understand this so that you can have some consistency. If somebody needs to take some personal leave, they need to be out, or somebody moves across the country. All of those things can happen, and we've seen it happen in this tumultuous last couple of years. So we want to make sure that you're setting yourselves up for success, and we will support you in any way possible to do that. Any other questions right now? I'll take a breather. Okay. So program assessments. So here's our statute, 1002.68. Section 2, each VPK classroom is required to participate in a program assessment. And the tool that we're using is the classroom assessment scoring system. That is the identified tool. Assessments have to be completed in all VPK classrooms using the pre-K class observation tool. It measures the effectiveness of teacher-child interactions. And all pre-K class observers are certified and required to recertify every year. The tool is a valid and reliable tool. Okay. Just to give you some information a little bit, we've been doing this in school readiness for a while, but for those of you that don't have the school readiness program, this obviously is new. All observations must be conducted in accordance with the requirements of Teachstone. So Teachstone is the publisher of this tool and has done a lot of the research behind it. Observers are required to watch 4 cycles. So make sure that your teachers understand when an observer comes in, they're going to be in there for 4 20-minute cycles, or up to 20 minutes. It's not exactly 20 minutes, depending on what's going on in the classroom. They're required to take detailed notes of everything that happens. That can be a little disconcerting. If somebody hasn't maybe gone through their CDA observation or something like that, and having somebody with a clipboard or a tablet in front of them writing, they're literally writing quotes and observations of what is occurring. Yes, Helen, we'll give you a copy of the presentation without a doubt. The observer does take a 10-minute break at the end of each cycle. So they kind of stop, regroup, and then start the next cycle. And this is just another reminder, all VPK instructional time must include structured learning activities. If you're having a snack, if your VPK includes meal times, if you have outdoor time, if it's VPK hours, it must include structured learning activities. If you're having a free play time, that is not VPK instruction. Remember, we only get about 3 hours a day for VPK. So it's intended to be structured learning. You can teach every domain of learning outside. So you can have outside time that meets DCF requirements and meets the needs of children's development and still have structured activities going on. But outdoor, all VPK instructional time must have those structured learning activities. And if you need hints or tips on what that should look like, please reach out. We're happy to provide technical assistance. We're going to give you the VPK program assessment handbook. It's a couple of pages that DEL has put together to just outline what this program assessment looks like. So they took the statute and the rule and created it into a handbook that's a little bit easier to read than statute and rule, although I suggest that you take a look at those as well. And there's a frequently asked questions list as well. So we'll drop those in the chat. We'll also send them as attachments in the follow-up email. Okay. So program assessments are conducted no earlier than 15 instructional days from the program start date. Obviously, we're past that this year. We're just getting started and ramping up for this as well. So as well as you all getting going, we're getting going on what's required and how this will look for VPK classes that might be a little bit different than school readiness classes that we've done this for a while. You will be notified via email of a program assessment at least 2 weeks prior to the scheduled assessment date. We're not necessarily going to say it's going to be 2 weeks from Wednesday at 3 o'clock or 9 in the morning. We're going to tell you that you're scheduled 2 weeks ahead of time, so you know it's coming. Once we notify you, if you have changes, you've got to let us know. If a teacher is moving out of state, you have to, as soon as possible, even though it says 2 weeks notice per the contract, if your window for assessment is open, we need you to tell us, okay? If there are changes going on. All program whoops. Lori's quick trigger. Go backwards for me. I don't know if I hit it all.
Hold on, I was trying to do something different and I kind of lost part of the PowerPoint that goes forward. Sorry about that. I'm like,
Technical assistance issues, please stand by.
Yeah, because I'm not used to doing it on my desktop. So hold on. I lost, what I did was, I'll find it here. I've lost my PowerPoint to forward. Help me. She's going to help me. I've lost this part of it. You know what I'm going to do? No, I got it. Wait a minute. Right here. She got it.
There we go.
This part right here, right? All right. Thank you.
So we want to go back one.
No, I got the wrong one. Never mind. Hold on. I am so sorry. Can you help me?
Screen.
I'm going to end the show a moment.
Yep.
There we go. See, that's what I lost was this.
Now click on the other one before and then share it again.
Oh, wait a minute. I just lost it.
Click on your PowerPoint.
Where is it? Oh, sorry. I really messed up here.
It's
Okay.
not
Hold
Oh,
on.
grandbaby picture. The
It
obligatory.
is my grandbaby
That's
picture.
okay.
Sorry about that. I'm like, okay, so I need to go back.
click on the slide you were on.
I was on.
We were on 19.
19. You're right. All right.
You're gonna have to stop share, then reshare.
Start.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, sorry about that because I'm not
It
used
happens
to.
for all of us.
I'm used to my Surface and I can't see things. I have different. I'm not used to this yet. So
There we go. Perfect. Then put it on regular slide.
Sorry, Lori.
wait a minute. I still don't have it right. From current slide. There we go. Now I need
There
to
we go.
swap. I'm
Yeah,
like,
let's just push all those forward and stay on this screen for
all
me.
right, I'm okay, right? I need to go.
Nope.
Check.
Oh, I'm
You
fine.
might need to swap.
You swap it out. Lori, you were in the wrong view.
I'm in the wrong one now.
You're in the slide view. Swap your slides.
Oh, because it was the opposite of a second
Right
ago.
here.
Oh, because I swapped that out. Okay, never mind. Sorry about
Swap.
this. I'm like,
There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and click through your buttons so we can get all the points up here, the bullet points for this slide. There we go. So this is an important one. All program assessments will occur during VPK instructional hours. So if you have an extended day program, you have a wraparound program, we will not conduct the VPK assessment during your program hours outside of your VPK hours. So again, if your calendar or your schedule changes, you have to let us know so that we're there during the right time. The other piece is that you have to have at least one enrolled VPK student present. We would like to see a regular, normal, typical day. But if the flu goes through your class and only one child shows up, we can still conduct the assessment on that day. And I would anticipate you would have fabulous scores because you can do a lot of student-teacher interaction if there's one teacher and one student. But please make sure that you let us know if there's a change in your lead teacher or in your hours. Lead instructional changes, we've mentioned this before, within 2 weeks or as soon as possible, immediately, if you've been notified of your assessment window or your assessment notification. We call it a window in school readiness. We're still trying to learn our own language as well. Then providers will be notified of your composite score. And the handbook talks a little bit more about this. So this is a big picture overview. The handbook that we're sending out to you has lots more detail on how the composite score is calculated. It gives you more of that information. But you have to achieve, this is an important piece, you have to achieve a minimum of a 4.00 to offer VPK the next year. On the program assessment side of things, the child assessment side of things, we have said this is all technical assistance. We're learning the FAST, we're learning how to do this. This is in statute and rule for next year. So everyone has to reach a composite score of 4.00 to be able to offer VPK in the 23-24 school year. A request for a second assessment is an option if the composite is below, but that will cost the provider. The coalition only has enough funding to do one assessment per classroom. So if you need to request a second assessment that'll happen before the end of the current VPK year, that's out-of-pocket expense, and we'll have a process for that. And you have 30 days to request that, so you can't really wait until the end of the year. But I think generally, if you have a score below 4.0, we anticipate a request. And I will remind you that we have lots of resources out there for the teachers to look at and to make them more confident to prepare for this class assessment. Okay. Let's jump ahead, Lori. We mentioned the performance metric earlier. In previous years, we've had a readiness rate, and we still use that terminology, but the readiness rate now will be composed of more than just how that child is assessed in kindergarten. As a matter of fact, it doesn't look at how the child is assessed in kindergarten. It looks at your progress from progress monitoring 1 all the way to progress monitoring 3, and we're looking at those growth scores. So that's their learning gains. We're looking at a norm referenced developmental outcome. So what would we anticipate, and what does research say a 4-year-old should score at the end in that progress monitoring 3? And then we're also looking for that class assessment. So all 3 of those components will be in some kind of a formula, but it has not been established yet. We don't know what the combination is. It 50% gains and 50% of composite score, but then we have a norm reference. So maybe it's 10% norm referenced, 40%. Again, we don't know. I can make up all kinds of ideas. I'm sure we all have great opinions on where that should be, but that will be established through rule promulgation. So we do not know yet what the developmental, the performance metric will be as far as the formula, but includes those 3 components. Our pre-K class tool. All right, Lori, you want to do this one?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd love to.
Just, this
So-
is intended to just give you a highlight.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody
Yes.
knows this stuff, but this is just a highlight of how that class tool is organized.
Yes, it is, because there's so much that goes into the class tool that we can't possibly in 5 minutes tell you all about it. But I know many of you have been curious and would like a little bit of an introduction, and this is a very brief introduction. So there are three domains that make up the pre-K class tool. We have our emotional support dimension, emotional support domain, our class organization, and our instructional support. Within emotional support, we have positive climate, negative climate, teacher sensitivity, regard for student perspectives. Under classroom organization, it's behavior management, productivity, instructional learning formats, and under instructional support, it's concept development, the dimension of quality of feedback, and language modeling. So altogether are 10 dimensions within 3 domains. So just to briefly look at, so when we're observing in a classroom, the observer for emotional support basically is looking at how teachers help children develop warm, supportive relationships with teachers and peers, their enjoyment of and excitement about learning, feelings of comfort in the classroom, and appropriate levels of autonomy. We kind of think about, does it look like that nice school family with that rich, supportive, warm relationships? When we go to classroom organization, we're looking at how teachers help develop skills to regulate their own behavior, that behavior management, get the most out of learning each day, and how they maintain interest in learning activities. So basically, classroom organization is how teachers manage their time and the children within the classroom to maximize learning time. And then instructional support is how teachers support children's cognitive development and language growth. They're looking at how are you fostering those deep thinking skills or their reasoning skills, and supporting their language growth within your interactions in the classroom. So that's just basic. There's a lot more to go into that to learn about. So we've been ongoing introduction to the pre-K class tool. We have the class foundation modules that we've been offering to, and it's available to both VPK only, and of course our school readiness providers have access as well. We have sent out information on flyers through constant contacts, flyers on how to sign up for class foundation modules. I think I've given out close to at least 100 or more key codes on going in, and we've had many centers have teachers complete the class foundations module. So that's really great because it does give you the foundation of what class is all about. So then you can also request a My Teachstone subscription. We also sent a flyer out via constant contact as well. And sometimes we mention it during monitors. We have those flyers. We can go ahead and put those in the chat for you. So those of you who have not been able to take advantage of it or have not at this point, there's still some availability for that. I do have to request My Teachstone through DEL, and they set up the account, so that takes a little while. And then finally, there is pre-K coaching. It's coaching group, class group coaching, or MMCI, which is making the most of child interactions. And I will go into what that is in a few minutes here. But that has mainly been available, that training, to our school readiness providers. Moving forward, we have a lot staff right now that are certifying in the pre-K side of it. So we might be able to have more availability later on in offering it. So I will go more into that in detail in a moment. So the class foundations briefly it's for teachers. It's 4 modules basically. And it is the foundational class knowledge. It gives you the class language and describes some of those interactions. There are 4 courses within the foundations. It's self-paced, basically. It's a pre-K class primer for teachers, and then there's a section on emotional support for pre-K teachers, classroom organization for pre-K teachers, and the instructional support for pre-K teachers. So as you can see, 3 of those modules cover the 3 domains of the class tool. The class foundations courses are an easy way to introduce your VPK instructors to the class. So it's an introduction, basically. It doesn't go quite as in depth as, say, MMCI. The second choice would be My Teachstone subscription. So with the My Teachstone, there's a resources section within Teachstone that you get a subscription for. You go in and you have access to a very large library of videos that show some of these. They're called exemplar videos because they show teacher-child interactions. They have different blogs you can access. There's little mini courses on each one of the dimensions within the tool. They're in Spanish as well. So if you have a teacher whose first language is Spanish, they can watch videos in Spanish. Once they watch the videos, there's reflective questions that describes the video, why this was exemplar, why it was an effective teacher-child interaction. So, and then there's handouts. There's many different things that you can access. There's so many. I use them all the time myself. Sometimes I use the videos for other trainings. So a lot of valuable information in there. And then, like I said, the videos feature real classrooms and reflect on classroom practice using discussion prompts. And that was, I was talking about the reflection after you watch the videos. And then they're using observation data to identify and access formal professional development opportunities. Responsive trainers and online courses. So it promotes teacher growth by providing data-driven and individualized professional development. Again, this is something for teachers to go in and just use as a resource that gives them more information about class. So an example would be if they come in, they can say, mark a box that says they're a teacher, whether they want a video or do they want a link to a blog, PDF, or do they want to watch a course, and they would check that. They could say what the dual language learner, so they can really filter down to what they want. Do they want English and Spanish? Do they want a pre-K? And then in this case, I think I went and said I wanted the pre-K tool, emotional support, and positive climate. And this is what popped up. So these are all videos and information for teachers that have to do with positive climate, one of the dimensions within emotional support. Then I did another little. They have these little mini courses, and they're called the My Teachstone Learnabouts. And so they take about 10 to 15 minutes, and they have one for each dimension within the pre-K class tool. So you can see I filtered it down, and then it shows you learn about. It's just a little mini course, but it gives you more of the definition of what each dimension is, what it looks like, and how you can add more positive climate within your classroom. So they're just really quick little videos. So
Can I jump in for a second, Lori?
you can.
I wanted to mention something that we kind of hear around the state. We're using technology here as a way to help teachers and to give them resources. So oftentimes what happens is our teachers may get on a Facebook group. They may get on a Google search for preschool class assistance, whatever. The resources that we're giving you here are resources that have been curated, meaning the people that created the tool and created this know that these are high quality. What we hear sometimes is a teacher will say, well, I was on a preschool teacher Facebook group. I cannot guarantee if your teacher, we love that teachers share best practices. It's one of the strengths of the profession is that teachers share best practices. But we want to make sure that if they're getting best practices from somebody on the other side of the world, does it fit with Florida standards? Does it fit with laws in the state of Florida? Does it fit with DCF requirements? We want to make sure that the recommendations and things that they're getting, which is why we're giving you these tools, not to tell teachers not to go out and build their village of support, but to pay attention to the sources of the recommendation and information that they get. So sometimes we hear a story that, you know, I got this idea from something I found on Google. Well, Mr. Google doesn't always hit, they don't know the contractual obligations or the ratio issues or a health and safety issue that we might identify here. So I just wanted to bring that forward so that you can support your teachers and looking for best practices, using these as a way to improve and enhance their instruction and the tools in their tool belt, but also looking at the resources that they use. So hopefully these will be helpful and they can be confident with what they're using in the classroom. We've just kind of heard there are different social media platforms where people go out and put their opinions, and sometimes you can get a really bad opinion of a tool or a technique or a strategy that could work very well for your teacher in their classroom. So just wanted to point that out to make sure that the teachers have access to these resources as much as possible.
Thank you. Let me see. Okay. So the pre-K group class group coaching, making the most of classroom interactions. Basically, they learn alongside peers in a small group coaching sessions. Right now, we're doing virtually still, but I find that I like them better in person, but you still can get a lot out of the virtual. And during those sessions, they watch and reflect on real classroom videos of other teachers. It's kind of a know, see, do framework. So basically, you learn what the indicators within that dimension are, and then you watch them in real videos, and then you make a plan to try out and practice strategies having to do with that dimension in your classrooms and come back and relate it to us and with your peers. So you learn to identify and describe the effective interactions in the classroom. You build skills, insights, and strategies to apply to class concepts to teaching. And that, like I said, is through that know, see, do framework. You do receive 2.4 CEUs toward professional certification after completion of the 24-hour training. It is a 24-hour training. Right now, we're in the process of doing them weeknights. It's 2 hours in the evening for 12 weeks, basically. So in order to complete it, though, they have to commit to those 24 hours. And it is a commitment. And oftentimes we will start out with 20 in MMCI, and what happens is by the end we may only have 12 or 13 left because they gradually just can't keep with the commitment. So we really want you to commit if you're going to take
Right.
it. You learn a lot.
One of the things that we're going to have to do, as Lori mentioned earlier, we are working on expanding our capacity for instructors within our organization. But in addition, we're going to have to do some priorities. So not every center that says, I want to send somebody for MMCI is going to be able to send everybody. We're going to have to look at, the first thing that I want to look at is, did you use any of the My Teach Stone? Did you use any of the resources? Have you used the self-directed things that we've offered to move forward? We will have some folks that probably will have to do it as a mandatory corrective action plan. That's kind of how we handled it on the school readiness side. If your scores were not high enough, we made it mandatory as a corrective action plan to improve those scores. So we'll be looking at ways that we will target, but we want you to know the resources available. And we'd like to know if it's something you're interested in, because how much we offer and how we open that capacity is going to be based on need and commitment. Like Lori said, when we commit a staff member to 24 hours of training, plus the planning, preparation, follow up on that training, we want to get the biggest bang for the taxpayer dollar that's paying for that. So we need to make sure that the folks who commit to it get all the way through, because there are others waiting in the wings for that space. So I know training is a little overwhelming right now. We have a lot of it going on, but know that this isn't where you have to start. You want to start with the exemplar videos and the My Teach Stone resources as a way to introduce these concepts. We'll get our baseline score, and then we can move forward with prioritizing how we're going to roll out that limited capacity that we have.
Thank you. Okay. So we did have a question if could they pay for their teachers to take MMCI. The materials is what costs at this point in time. So I don't.
Well, if they're asking to see if they could have a separate instructor come to their facility, that's something we could look at. There may be other folks that teach MMCI besides coalition staff, but our intention is to actually be able to offer this over time to everybody. So we'll look at the different options that we have available.
Somebody did ask if we have had our class assessment recently. Does it count toward this assessment? Both of our classes were done at that time, and they are. I'm assuming you are she is a school readiness center. So yes, they can be if they were done.
Wait, let Tanya answer whether or not it meets that criteria.
Right. It has to meet all of program assessment criteria, which means it would have had to take place after it was approved by the state board, which was September 20th. It would also have to meet all of the other requirements. The lead teacher was present. The observation took place during VPK hours. It has to be identical because there are similarities between school readiness program assessment and VPK program assessment, but then there are many differences as well. So I am in the process of looking at everyone that has been assessed on the school readiness side after September 20th to see if they meet those requirements. If those classrooms meet the requirements and that classroom was randomly selected, then yes. At the same time, if that took place and the program has more than one VPK classroom, we will be coming back. And if for some reason the lead teacher wasn't there or all the requirements were not met, the score for that VPK classroom will be for school readiness, and then we will be back to do for VPK program assessment. Please let me know if that was helpful or if you need more, but you could also reach out to me directly as well.
Okay. Next piece. Our workforce initiative grant. I know this has been challenging, but we've got some lessons learned. We are working very hard to try and get these dollars out for teachers that have applied, centers and teachers that have applied. Applications are being held in a pending status, and trainings are not approved if all the required documentation is missing or incomplete. We are making phone calls. We are following up with everybody, but understand we work with almost 200 providers in Seminole County. So if we have to make 5 different phone calls to correct lots and lots of things, it is taking time. So we are working through it and we're trying to get those resources out to you, but we want to make sure that you understand the process. Our team worked really, really hard to do a webinar on this, to create lots of materials. And a lot of times what we're finding is people kind of read the first paragraph on every page and then call, and that's slowing the process down. So it's a novel. You should have a PhD by the time you're done applying for this whole thing. I understand it. We feel the same way. We're following the rules that the state has set forward. So please read in detail and try and get through having all of the information come to us at one time. The providers must submit the application with the staff application and the required payroll records before any training opportunities will receive approval to begin. So part of this is you get the retention credit or you get the sign-on bonus because you've been with the center for a period of time. It's taking the class and being employed for a period of time. If we can't see both of those, we're not going to authorize, because we're paying for subscriptions and things like that. We don't want to release that subscription and pay for that cost if it's not going to meet the requirement. Staff is only eligible for 1 training opportunity per application. So they'll be rejected. So if a teacher says, I'm going to do 3 different classes, if it's not one series of 3, and you're picking 3 different things, we're going to reject it because we can only have the funding for 1 at a time on hold. If your staff's interested in additional trainings, they have to wait until the bonuses are received for all staff, and then CDAs take a little bit longer. The first application has to be closed before we can open the next one. Training opportunities selected on the provider application and staff application must agree. So the provider can't say, the center application can't say, we're all going to take CDAs, and the staff application says, I want a CCI subscription. They have to be the same. They have to tie together because the center is approving that staff member to participate in this, and you're supporting your team members. They have to have the correct bonus selected, which corresponds to the training opportunity. So we cannot alter or make changes for you on the application. These have to be signed applications. These are federal dollars. So not only do we have a team that will have to monitor this, the state has a team to monitor it, and the federal government may select us to monitor this as well. So we have to be nitpicky and detail oriented because it's a lot of money that we're spending, and we need to make sure that we do it properly. Okay. All applications must have a signature. If you're submitting this for a staff member, the staff member needs to sign their application too. We don't want a center saying my teachers are all going to do this, and the teacher says, well, I'm working on my master's degree right now, and so I'm not really sure when I'm going to be able to do this. We want the staff to sign and a signature from the provider. So both need to be signed. Okay, is there a way to know that our grant application was received? We're working through them slowly but surely. So you will either get a call that says, yes, you've been approved, or an email, or you will get a call that says we've got errors or we don't have all the records and you're on hold until we get the following. I don't know if Karen's on here, if you want to jump in with anything.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if you want to comment on any of those.
Yeah, we are going through them as they are received, because it is a first come, first served type of grant application. So what we're doing is going through all the payroll records, all of the applications as they are received, trying to get back to everyone. A lot of times we're spending multiple phone calls and emails with just one provider who may have 10 or 15 staff members to get something corrected, but we're finding that the same errors are on the 3rd and the 4th application that's uploaded, or we're still missing the same payroll records we requested in the beginning. So we are going through them all. I think we have just a couple of more providers so far that have submitted something this week, and we're making phone calls today and tomorrow to get back to them. So far, a lot of the issues have been with the payroll records. We're not getting those. And it says on the flow chart and the application, you have to submit the required payroll records to support either the 90 days of employment or the minimum of 5 months employment, and to show a payroll record that the staff member is still working with you when you submitted that application before we can move forward. So I would suggest for a lot of providers to go back and look and see what you uploaded. If you did not upload any of those payroll records, go ahead and do so before we call you.
So they're looking, I see another question that says, clarify if and what are the required payroll records. This is either a staff member that's new to you and has worked 90 days. So we need to know when they started that first payroll record and proof that they were with you for 90 days. Or if it's a 6 month, so it's a retention credit, we need to know as of the date. So they made 90 days with you, and then as of the date that you sent that application. So it does say it in the question and answer and the flow chart, what kind of payroll records we're looking at. Okay. Right. And I see a question. One of my students took the test and his score never showed up. What test are you referencing? I'm not sure.
The STAR
Oh,
letter.
the STAR. Okay. So the child assessment. Okay. And he took it, but it never showed up.
I believe this issue came up on a fast hours call, but I would have to look back at the notes to tell you what they said.
Okay. Can you, Lori, could you follow up with Brittany on that? That's a good question.
I
And
can.
we definitely want to help you. That's a good point.
Right.
If there's something that's going on there that we need to share, we will share it with everybody as well. Thank you for bringing that up.
And Brittany, you're from which center? So I can follow up with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll do that. Thank you.
All right. Keep trying, guys. We want to spend this money. I do not want to give as much of a headache as it is for you. I promise it's the same for us. I know it's painful, but we want to get this money out. The last thing I want to do is send this money back to the state and have them turn it back to the federal government. Karen, I think there's one more
Jennifer,
question. Go ahead.
yeah, I see that question from Jamie. And Jamie, you're on the list. We're going to be calling you. It's either this afternoon or in the morning, because there's a few questions we have for you and incomplete information. So we are going to be giving you a call.
Perfect. Thank you. It's painful, but work with us through it. Thank you. And now we've talked about lots of resources today. Our friends from Marco Polo are on. I have to tell you that some of our team members have observed Marco Polo being used in the classroom. We have the neighborhood preschool was recognized with one of the first Power Polo teachers that's been using the resource in their classroom. And we're just really, really excited about this resource. What I feel is fantastic about Marco Polo is that they've also aligned all of these resources with the class tool. So it is yet another resource that can help your teachers, provide enhanced instructional support and really enhance the learning that's going on in the classroom, and that the children can use at home. So Marco Polo, anybody want to say hello? Do you have anything to share?
Hi, my name is Meredith Chester. I'm a partner success manager with Marco Polo Learning, and you did an excellent job, Jennifer. Thank you for sharing what you shared. We're just really excited. It's been really exciting to roll this out with you guys and have this opportunity. And as you said, I'm glad that we have that class alignment now, so that can be utilized to support teachers in that way too.
Thank you. And we'll give a reminder. We've had a number of trainings. The coalition board authorized purchase of access to Marco Polo for every contracted provider in Seminole County. The caveat to accessing the resource library, the video library, is to have a training with Marco Polo. And they have scheduled a number of them. They're about 45 minutes to an hour long, just depending on how much engagement, how many questions teachers have. It's very, very user-friendly. I actually I get little videos occasionally in my email, and I'll ask everybody to come into my office to hear a song or or some little snippet of a story. And it's, even for grownups, it's pretty engaging. So it's being used to enhance instruction. And I see Shanika asked the question. So she said, how is it being used? Marco Polo, Meredith, I'm going to speak on your behalf, so you correct me if I get anything wrong. But Marco Polo has an entire video library of developmentally appropriate resources that teachers can search to enhance their training. So let's say one of the samples that they use is a discussion. Let's say you're reading a book about animals and there's some information on a beaver. Well, what is a beaver? And have our children who live in the city ever seen a beaver? Do we know what one looks like? Your teacher can either sit at home and try and Google and YouTube and find all kinds of inappropriate things or not develop age appropriate, or you can go to Marco Polo, research that, do a little search on animals or animal homes or whatever your topic is from your curriculum. And it's a video that's less than 3 minutes long. They're 1 to 3 minutes long, and they come with open-ended questions. So it's not just the intent to watch the video, but it's to use that video to enhance your instruction and to promote creativity, have back and forth dialogue. And then our next step will be able to send a video home so that parents could watch one and role model that asking questions with their children at home. So we're engaging parents in the learning process as well and helping them understand how that back and forth dialogue and open-ended questions can help build their child's vocabulary, problem-solving skills, enhance their love of learning, and all of those other great things that all of you early learning experts do. Anything to add, Meredith?
No, that was perfect. The only thing I will add is that you do, those short videos are done purposefully, that being short, but also they come in Spanish and they come in this unique modified version. So the modified version has slowed speech and it's paired with text. So it's great for students with different learning needs or students who are emergent readers to be exposed to those early concepts of print. So lots of opportunities for you.
Thank you. So if you are interested in signing up for Marco Polo training, do we have any on the books right now? Any trainings coming up?
I'll let my colleague, Nomi's here. I'll let her jump.
Putting everybody on the spot. Sorry, Nomi.
No, it's perfect. I love it. So our series of training, we don't have any more on the calendar. However, I have gotten some emails from specific providers asking for training. And so we can set up either additional trainings, we can set up individual trainings for providers. And then we also have short videos as well, one that's 10 minutes and one that's 5 minutes about using the educator platform and the app. And so I know, this time of year can get sort of crazy as well. And so that's an option as well. So Jennifer, I think probably best course would be to have them reach out to me if they want to schedule a training. I can put my email in the chat box if that works. Okay, perfect. And then they can reach out via email. And if there's enough, we can also get another series of trainings on the calendar as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I see Sherry made a comment that her kids love Marco Polo. Anybody else have any comments to share? I know many of you are really using it. Just wanted to see if anybody had any comments.
I will say we've gotten some feedback about the playlists and the videos. Those have been really awesome features for teachers. The videos, like you mentioned, Jennifer, just enhancing that instruction. And then that Spanish piece is huge because it's just such an equitable access for students who speak Spanish. That playlist piece has been awesome for educators from what we've heard for planning purposes. So, you know, you want to plan 4 weeks in ahead and you don't want to have to search for videos on the fly. You can create a folder for that. So those two features have been really loved by teachers so far.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Can I share one update too?
Sure.
We have one new feature available on our educator platform. On the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little blue chat icon. So now there's a live chat to be able to answer teachers' questions in real time. So if you have a technical issue or you're looking for curriculum support or video support, you can reach out to us that way as well.
Fantastic. That's really great. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we want to just continue trying to encourage folks to use this. It is an investment that our board and DEL funds were used to invest on your behalf, but we just think it's a great enhancement, and it's using technology where children and families are, and it still aligns with the class tool and developmentally appropriate practices. For those of us that are old timers in the industry, having technology in an early learning classroom made me cringe a little bit, but I have to say that our Marco Polo team has really made it appropriate, and it really still hits all of those opportunities for learning for children. And with our millennial parents that are out there, they grew up with technology. So having technology as part of their life. And I think the parent engagement side of things is going to be really exciting as well. And let's see, know me at marcopololearning.com. So anybody in the chat that's interested in using it or attending the training, send Nomi an email and we'll try and get some more training set up. And Nomi, if you guys have an introduction video or something, perhaps you said there's like a 5-minute video, why don't you send that to me? And when we do our follow-up, we can attach that intro video for anybody that hasn't seen it in action. To be able to click on that link and see one of the really cool intro videos that you have.
You got it. I will send that your way, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. I think, believe it or not, that's it. Do we have more questions? And Danielle, I see you think you missed it. Look, there's a lot going on, so we're not surprised. There is a lot going on. So email Nomi and we'll get you up to speed on Marco Polo. I see, Jennifer, you had a question about the workforce grant. We'll give you a call. I can get with Karen and we'll give you a call on follow-up to talk about the new employee that's working on their required 45 hours and how we're approving those. So we'll give you a call about that one, Jennifer, to follow up.
Yeah. So, and I was just going to say, some of you that just had something simple that had to be corrected, we have emailed you back a missing documents checklist. So be sure you're checking your emails as well. That way it's something simple sometimes and you can just go ahead and upload the missing documents. So maybe you did not get a phone call, but double check your emails, whoever is doing that at your center. Be sure that you're looking for any communication from the workforce grant email.
And Brian, I see your question about the $15 an hour BSA increase. Those applications went out. We actually had several of your staff send information. So I got your email. I will follow up with you this afternoon regarding that BSA component. The way to apply for that and to identify if you wanted to do it went out from DEL and from the coalition previously, but we'll make sure that I follow up with you on that. Anything else? Thanks, everybody. We appreciate your time and your dedication to our young ones and your patience with all of the craziness going on in our world right now. Hang in there. You're needed and you're extremely valuable. So thank you. Have a great day.